I mean, it's North America. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
That's a different,
It's
same continent,
just
different
saying.
country.
Just
You
saying.
know,
Just saying.
I know you're against borders, so
I am not. I'm
you're gonna
all.
open it.
I'm a strong supporter of borders, especially the bookstore.
Sure.
Especially the bookstore.
Fuck Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
But we're gonna head across the pond to Ireland this morning by way of marijuana moment, where the Irish citizens had a bit of good news and a wee bit of a what the moment. Because a regulative panel voted to recommend decriminalizing drug possession, but for some reason, cannabis legalization falls one vote short. Per the article, after months of meeting and consideration, a group of 99 Irish citizens hand selected by the government to weigh in on the nation's drug policy voted to recommend decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of currently illicit substances and adopting a public health approach to the issue. However, the same panel also narrowly voted against endorsing the legalization and regulation of cannabis. Makes a lot of sense. So crack, pills, heroin, whatever, that's cool, but weed, not so much. I got it. Let's continue. The Citizens Assembly on Drug Use posted summaries of a 36-day policy recommendation, 36 policy recommendations online Monday following the body's final meeting over the weekend, culmination of what the body's chair, Paul Reed, called the most comprehensive, wide-ranging, and representative discussion on all aspects of drugs, drug use, and drug policy that has ever taken place in Ireland. The group's overarching message was that lawmakers must take a more ambitious and progressive approach to dealing with drugs in Ireland. In a statement, Reid said this: ultimately, it will be up to the Oireachtas, I don't know if it's pronounced correctly, Oireachtas, to implement what the assembly is called for, referring to Ireland's national parliament. But if they do, this will not only change the national policy and approach, it will also change people's lives for the better, end quote. Citizens' assemblies are intended to give everyday Irish citizens who aren't typically involved in policy deliberations the chance to debate a single issue, in this case, drug policy. Members who are selected by the government in a way that aims to be representative of the country's population, examine public research, consider evidence from other countries, and hear from experts and ordinary people alike. The Citizens Assembly on Drug Use first met in April of this year and has since spent more than 200 hours discussing drug policies. They heard more than 120 representations and considered nearly 800 public submissions. Broadly, there are 36 recommendations that fall into 6 main themes: recovery and supporting people with problematic drug use within the criminal justice system. These are what they were: possession of drugs for personal use, governance and implementation, funding and resources, service design and research, um, reducing supply, prevention, protecting young people and communities, harm reduction, innovation research, referral, and submissions. Most of the descriptions of the recommendations are pretty short, and others are more in depth. Now that the Assembly has adopted its recommendations, it will prepare a more extensive description of each for a forthcoming final report. Not everybody was impressed by Citizens Assembly's call for a change, however. An Irish harm reduction advocacy group called Crane said the recommendations are good for grabbing headlines, but contain very little substance. This broad recommendation gives room to the Oireachtas to fully interpret how they will deal with specific drugs such as cannabis, said a statement by the organization. It warns that the newly proposed system will still allow law enforcement to stop and search people or force people to attend drug interventions. Sounds very draconian to me. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Irish policy or the citizens' sentiment or wishes here, but I think it's interesting the way they have a panel of 100 people hand selected by the government. Lots of corruption, room for corruption there. But they set the tone for the rest of the nation, and for some reason, they're more keen on letting more harmful substances to become legalized or decriminalized, but not so quick to move on cannabis, which has been proven time and time again to have a multitude of medical benefits. But that's just me. I'd love to hear from the rest of the team. Anybody got some insight on this Irish, the way they do laws over there in Ireland, and why are they so against cannabis? I'm Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. What do you guys think?
I feel like they all should have had buttons that said "Kiss me, I'm Irish."
I just want to
Ooh,
know what Daniel O'Connell had to say about this. the famous Irish hero. Um,
Man.
no, on some real stuff though, like it's I don't understand. I don't really understand it either. I guess this is it, right? If you take away the gateway drug, then you can legalize all the other drugs because they can't get to them because you took away the gate. I guess. I don't.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
but
cute. I see what you did there.
to build upon that, yeah, to build upon that, Luke, I would say you can take away the gateway, but you still got the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers are
Rationality makes about as much sense as prohibition.
totally. You're
Yeah,
letting
it's
everybody
just
else.
it just when you have this kind of legislation, it just kind of makes you lose hope in some of our politicians. It's just illogical. It's without reason. It doesn't make sense, and it's frankly a waste of the taxpayers' time. Let's put forth stuff that makes sense based on science and based on evidence, and we can get forward as a society.
How many people from the actual communities would be selected to actually put forth community initiatives if we did this in America? Let's just say you had people from the communities that were elected by your elected official to represent the community's voice or the constituents' voice. Like how many people and their ideas would be left out? I guarantee you there is more prohibitionists on this 100-person panel than not, and a lot of ill-informed people too, because they want to let you got crack on you, cool. You got heroin on you, cool. You got illegal pills, cool. You got weed, nah, man, we throwing you in jail. I don't get the thought process behind this.
We have over Rico. We have over a century of the prohibition madness that unfortunately was based in religious movements back at the end of the 1800s to take alcohol out, and it rolled into drugs. And to try to get prohibitionists to stop and look at facts, scientific facts, is like teaching a pig to sing. You can't do it. I still appear in front of commissions and bodies that make decisions about cannabis licenses and zoning and things like that, and you'll still have one or two on these panels that, I'm a strong Christian and I just don't believe in it. Like there's no place to go with that kind of an argument because you can't break through it. And I've had meetings stopped by what I call church ladies. You're getting into a place where my butt's beginning to pucker. I'm going to stand up and scream and take all the oxygen out of a room. And at that point, there's no sense, talking to these people anymore because you can't meet them with facts and science. Harm reduction is supposed to be the tail wagging the dog here. Cannabis is one of the most least harmful and most medically active substances known to man. But you can't get that to sink into people's heads when they have closed off thinking because you've got them in cognitive dissonance. I was taught this is bad. My mama said it's bad, and that's all there is to it. And I don't know what to say about folks like that because I've got a felony. I can't go smack them in the mouth anymore. So you just got to kind of walk out of the room and shake your head.
Maybe
Well,
just
Dale,
smash them with a guitar.
I can tell you exactly what to say. A wise man said, "Don't argue with fools, because people from a distance can't tell who's who."
Who is who?
Oh, I like
That's
that
right.
one, Luke.
That's right.
Old Jay-Z quote.
I like that one, Luke.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that Ireland is the same country. I think it was last year they began to allow people to drive drunk, right, in the rural areas because they don't have enough taxis, they don't have enough Ubers and stuff out there. You're allowed to drive drunk as long as it's like under 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, but at the same time too, you're not going to hit anybody. You're going to just like crash into a tree.
What about
The same can be said if you're high, right? The same can be said if you're smoking weed. You can't do that. You can do that if you're drinking, but you can't do that if you're high. Like I don't get it.
I think people that are high are trying to save the trees rather than hit the trees.
Nah, I don't know. Most people that I know that get high, they hit the trees all the time.
That's a different
Burning
type of
trees
tree,
all day
Luke.
long.
Different type of tree, Luke. Different type of tree.
They're hitting the trees harder than Sonny Bono.
Ooh, bars all day
man,
today.
oh man! And on that, we're gonna keep this show rolling. We're gonna move right in to, oh man, Rico, are you back? You're back with us, huh? That's right, he's back. We're moving right in to Mr. Dale Schaefer. Mr. Dale Schaefer. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice and everyone's favorite fun uncle who loves to piss up a rope while driving you madly insane. And we're glad to have him back. He's feeling better. And so, Dale Schaefer, welcome back.
Howdy, everybody.
Yeah.
The old man, I think, mostly over his virus and heavy on the old man. This virus kicked my ass for a couple weeks. Well, I'm back and I'm scrappy this morning. And my story comes out of Law 360. It came out yesterday. Lawsuits challenging hemp laws reflect new cannabis rift. And this story dates back to long before anybody knew what THC was. Because 100 years ago, when you smoked hemp, you knew it was hemp. When you smoked Indian hemp, you knew it was hot hemp. And when they finally figured out what THC was, they screwed the pooch, and they continue to screw the pooch. As in the 2018 Farm Bill, they exempted hemp from the Controlled Substances Act, and they used the specific term Delta 9 THC, which is an organic molecule on the ninth bonding site. And so everything else that flows from the hemp plant, including all the cannabinoids, were taken out of the Controlled Substances Act. Now, several years ago, people thought CBD was going to be all that in a bag of chips, and it fell flat on its face because, again, smoking hemp, you go, that's not weed, I don't want to smoke it anymore. So they Delta 8, which is one of the natural isomers that comes out of the cannabis plant, but in very small amounts. But you can manufacture it. So hemp manufacturers began to pump out products with Delta 8 THC in it, which by definition is not cannabis or marijuana. So states began to jump into this because the federal government wouldn't take any action. The FDA said they would do something about this, but they sat on their thumbs. And so Delta 8 now is in competition with Delta 9 THC. And so the hemp and the cannabis industries are now fighting over turf, and states are getting involved. Now, one of the leading cases came out of California in 2022. And I had to go back and look at the exact date that the legislature changed the hemp manufacturing laws in California, but it was right around this time. And the owner of the brand Cake took a bunch of manufacturers to court in federal court for trademark infringement, unfair business practices, a bunch of things like that. And at that point in time, what came in front of the court was an injunction, a temporary injunction to stop these manufacturers from making Delta 8 products and selling them under the Cake name. And so the court said, well, I'm looking at the hemp regulation from the 2018 Farm Bill, and it says that if it's got less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC, it's hemp. And all the cannabinoids that come from that. Oh, sorry, it looks like the owner of the Cake brand is going to prevail here, and we're going to issue temporary restraining order stopping all these companies from manufacturing this. That got appealed to the Ninth Circuit here in California. We got a decision out of it that said, I don't care what the DEA says, the clear meaning of clear language in the 2018 Farm Bill says if it's got less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC, it's hemp. So get out of here. Okay? And so we're left with a void. Now, California changed this, and they included all THC, all types of delta cannabinoids. Every one of those is now covered by our cannabis statutes in California. So you have to have a cannabis license to do it. But other states have taken different approaches. And in the states that don't have recreational and medical statutes, it's just the Wild West. Anything that you can put into your corner stop and rob is going to be okay. And so we have a continuing battle here because the Congress has not stepped up to fix this. And in our Supreme Court, there's some tendencies right now to send these administrative decisions back to Congress. So I expect that no matter what happens here in the courts, it's going to be punted back to Congress to try to fix this problem, because the definitions they came up with, they had rectal myopia when they put them up there. If you just talk to an An organic chemist, he could tell you we can take CBD and turn it into any damn cannabinoid we want. You better figure out a better way to define this, or all of these, you call them intoxicating cannabinoids, these intoxicating THC cannabinoids are going to be just out there all over the place, and you're not going to be able to stop them. Now, the Farm Bill is typically reevaluated every 5 years, which means we're 5 years out from 2018. Okay? And so you would expect Congress to do something, but right now, Congress has its head up his ass about 4 feet. They can't even get a Speaker of the House. So to think that we're going to solve this problem in this Congress, I think is wishful thinking. But this is going to continue. Courts are going to make decisions, but they can't make legislation. They can only strike parts of legislation out. This is going to have to be solved by Congress, and God only knows when that's going to happen or what kind of a mess they're going to make out of this. So that's my story for this morning. Let me kick it back to all of you. What do y'all got to say?
I think they're going to make a bigger mess out of it than it already is, Dale. But I do think, too, that it doesn't make a lot of sense for states to start enacting any of these types of laws when the Farm Bill is going to be is up for revision this year and is going to be coming out with a whole new version of it. And I feel like they should just put a pause on all these decisions until that comes out, so then that way they know how to steer.
You know that can't happen, Jason.
I-
Local legislators need to look like they're being proactive. They can't act like they're doing nothing. They can't just be doing
Yeah, but
absolutely
then they're gonna
anything and ignoring them.
then they're gonna end up having to do the work all over again once the Farm Bill
I mean,
comes
I
out.
understand what you're saying. I do think that waiting for the Farm Bill makes the most sense, but there are communities that feel very strongly affected by this, and let's be really honest, there is a lot of shitty Delta 8 and whatever products out there right now.
For sure.
There's a lot of swill out there. I mean, I've even over the years done my fair share of pulling products off the shelf from the side of the market and taking it to labs and finding that there's not even anything in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it is a Wild West situation, of course, and get your stuff
Yeah.
from local licensed places because they have test results to prove that it's real.
Mm-hmm.
No
I
kidding.
think this goes back to just government being fundamentally broken. I know a lot of people on our team. I won't call out names right now. But they're like, "Oh, this is how government works: incremental change. This, at least we got something done." But the system is fundamentally flawed, and our government continues to put half-baked, half-assed laws out there, half legalizing stuff, half legalizing, half criminalizing other things,
How do you know that's not
and
just
constantly
how do you know that's just not
is
to
constantly
implore the entrepreneurial spirit?
is constantly causing problems down the line that you're going to have. And then we're in a situation right now when your side of the government can't even put together a leader, and we can't even push forward
We actually
any.
did get a leader last night. Nice try. Nice try, Rico. Nice try.
Emmer?
No, not Emmer. Different guy. I forget his name. I can pull it up. Give me a second.
Yeah, you even know his name.
I
Louise
forget his name.
All right.
I forget
Google.
his name.
And will he get all the votes?
He got enough votes, to my understanding.
No, he got enough votes to move forward with the vote overall, but will he get all of the votes needed to move forward?
Yes.
That's still a question mark.
I'm
And we
sure
wouldn't
he
even
will.
be in this situation if it wasn't for government being fundamentally broken. And this is why I'm all like I won't back down on that safe banking thing, because it is not going to fix a lot of stuff that are fundamentally flawed with us going forward.
His name-
Anti-recidivism issues.
His name is Mike
Um, um,
Johnson. His name is Mike Johnson, just so you know. And he is what is known as
Sounds like a
the
made-up name.
Speaker Designee. Okay? That is his official title as of right now.
We'll see if he gets all the votes, because y'all can't even agree on anything.
His
But
stance on
government is
cannabis.
fundamentally-
I love that
yeah,
he
and
has the most
in the
generic
Farm
name,
Bill,
Michael Johnson.
He's a fundamentalist Christian, Mandy. Take a guess.
right? Like the country's broken, the laws are
Delightful.
broken, and fundamentally flawed from the beginning. It should have been cannabis overall. It shouldn't have been hemp.
Mhm.
Because hemp is cannabis. Period. And so you're gonna always have all these little loopholes that people are gonna try to shut. You have all this reefer madness creeping in there. Like, follow the science that we have. If we want to be the #1 country when it comes to science, it comes to business, comes to all that stuff. We have numbers, we have science backed research going back decades. Use that and build laws around that, not just a bunch of people saying, "Oh yeah, these people are really, really upset, and they're in my constituency group. I'm going to push this forward. I'm going to ram this forward." Like, it's fundamentally flawed. It's a good old boy system, and we're going to continue to have issues going forward.
And
Burn it down.
And on that note, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.